Always such a mystery here. I think we're alive. I'm feeling, am I alive? I'm alive, yay. Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers at the Monday edition of the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything live stream. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies on CompTIA certifications. We concentrate here on the Total Seminars channel on A+, Net+, and Security+, but we can certainly go outside of that to other CompTIA certifications. We're also comfortable with many non-CompTIA IT certifications. Do keep in mind that there are literally thousands of them, so it can be a little bit tricky right now to try to cover all the certifications. But, you know, I'll give you an opinion on anything. So, hello. All right, so here's how this works, folks. Pretty simply, I'm here to help answer questions for you. So what you do is you type questions into the chat window and I answer them. I'm supported by my buddies, who's all here? Andrew Hutz is here, Dave Rush are here as moderators, and they're always here to help. You can see they have the blue text, as well as a lot of our regulars, everybody from Tolowit, and I can't even, Andre, there's so many other people here. I don't want to start, Alan Dugan. Lots of people here who are great techs in and of themselves, who can also be very helpful. Okay, sorry, I get lots of information on these things, so I get multiple channels. So if I suddenly look like I've drifted off into another place, it's because I'm checking back channel texting information. It's just tea, people. It's just hot tea is the only problem. All right, so what do we got going on today? I always hate to say too many things at first because we always have such a tiny crowd at the very beginning of each one of these. But I will say a couple of things. Number one, this is a 1-hour show or until we run out of questions. So it's really completely up to you guys. I want to be here to answer questions for you. But when we run out of questions, then we're done because ain't no AMAing going on if people ain't AMAing, which is fine. Do keep in mind also that we're going to have 2 giveaways today. I'll be giving away free practice questions. I will also be giving away a free CompTIA voucher. So keep that in mind. And we will march right along. So let's see. Kyle Haynes is here. Now we can start. Thank goodness for that. Will Shaw, good to see you again. Congrats, Alan. What did Alan do? Oh, Alan Dugan got an IT help desk job. Well done. Good on you. Congratulations. That's very exciting. Hey, Siegfried. Good to see you, Siegfried. So I'm just going nice and slow, scrolling up. So a couple of things that before we dive in too deeply. Here in the chat window, if at the very top it says top chat, go ahead and hit the pull down and change that to live chat. That kind of takes the YouTube algorithm out of the actual questions themselves. So that can be helpful. Travis Sims, Mike, what security underwear are you wearing this month? The very secure underwear. Security underwear. He assumes I wear underwear. Sorry, I snuck that out. Jenish Patel, Mike, in CompTIA 1001, how many questions they ask in the exam? Oh, geez, I'm pretty sure it's 90, but I'm going to have Dave Rush or one of the other guys confirm that. I think it's 90. It's either going to be 90 or 100. Saf Mo is here. Good, good, good. Total Sevens, will you be joining in Discord? Yes, I was planning on joining in Discord. And speaking of Discord, we do have, well, I don't have, there is a Discord channel out there. And I believe it's run by Siegfried, who's one of the people on here. And it's actually turned into quite the popular Discord channel. It's, I mean, if you guys have ever been on Discord, you know how that works. So it's very much a 24/7 place now. However, I do want to warn you that we tend to jump on live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays after this AMA. So if you want a chance to actually like talk real time with me in a two-way way, you are welcome to do so. And to do that is on the Discord channel. I will be on the Discord channel today. I will be on it immediately after, whenever this show ends. So I will be on there. CompTIA last Wednesday did announce the new A+. So the new A+, 1101, 1102 will be coming out. I believe Dave Rush actually was kind enough to attend the announcement April 20th, which is just a little over a month from now. The new A+ is going to be announced. Now everybody's like, panic. The old A+, the 1001, 1002, is going to be good until the end of August. And I guarantee you that CompTIA will stretch that out. So on the total seminar side of things, we're pretty much about halfway through the A+ book. But then keep in mind, once we're done with it, it goes to McGrawHill. And McGrawHill is this big super tanker of a publisher. And, paper shortages and COVID and bullshit excuses everywhere. But so there'll be, a few months even after I get it to them. So I don't anticipate total seminars, books, videos, or practice questions being out. Probably it'll be around the end of the year is my guess right now. But in the meantime, as I always tell people, whenever CompTIA or anybody announces a new exam, there seems to be this group of people who are like, oh my God, I have to take the new exam immediately. Let me tell you a couple of things, folks. Number one, I don't get any more material to learn about what's on the exam than you do. I get it earlier than you. I had it a couple of months ago. That's why we started writing the book. But I don't know what's on the exam. CompTIA, who literally gives the exam, separates the administration of the exam from the CompTIA in-house product. And that product tends to be, so they don't know either. Even literally the people who write the CompTIA training don't know. Nobody knows other than the objective list, which you can download by PDF on www.comptia.org. Now, I've been writing CompTIA books now for over 25 years. This is the 11th edition of my A+ book. So I got a pretty good feel of how CompTIA does things, but guys, nobody knows what's on the exam. So what I'm trying to tell you is immediately when an exam comes out, in my opinion, anything training materials come out it's literally the worst training materials there are. Even my own books and videos, when they do come out, now I'm going to be blessed to have a few months, couple of months at least, of being able to, see what's on the new A+. So I'll be better mapped than anybody else. The people who bring out the training materials first are usually, in my opinion, the worst. I like to make sure that I'm tracking well to the exam. But some people think they have to take the newest test. The answer is no, you don't. I always say this, and there's always that one person. I'm going to tell you guys a story real quick. A trillion years ago, I was teaching the United States Postal Service, and I was talking about floppy drives. And I was saying to the U.S. Postal Service that floppy drives, if they break, you replace them, okay? A field replaceable unit. Two people raised their hand in the U.S. Postal Service, and they said, Mike, our job here at the United States Postal Service is to repair floppy drives full time, okay? I'm like, all right. What you just saw, folks, was an example of something of the exception that proves the rule. So I'm going to give you another exception that proves the rule. You guys are ready? Nobody cares what exam you take. They want to know when you took it. They're going to say, did you take the A+? You're going to say yes. They're going to say when. Are you going to put it on your CV? So I took the A+ exam back in, let me make sure I'm saying this accurately so nobody freaks out, June of 2022. Nobody's going to ask you which exam you took. Now, having said that, I have made that statement here before, and there's always that one person who's like, well, Mike, they did for me. And it's like, okay, all right. I got to go with the bell-shaped curve here, and I got to serve the most possible people that I can. So the bottom line is the current training materials are going to be fine through August, and they're probably going to stretch it out past then. always take the old exam whenever possible. You know, we've been teaching this exam, so have my competitors, it's not just me. We've been teaching this exam for 3 years, or not quite 3 years, what, 2.5? And so people have a better sense of what's on that exam. And you know, I can tweak practice. I don't give away anything, folks. If you're looking for copies of CompTIA questions, you've come to the wrong place. I like my relationship with CompTIA way too much, and I love the fact that they give me free vouchers to give away for my AMA to ever cross them in that fashion. But I try to get as close as I can, all right? My analogy is, if you see one of my practice questions that says 2 + 2 = 4, you might want to check what 2 + 3 and 2 + 1 equals. Get the idea? Okay. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. Me. Also, do keep in mind, folks, that just because you're nice enough to show up today, we are, might as well call it giving away. We are selling bundles of my ebooks and my practice questions. We call them bundles, on my website, www.totalsem.com, TOTALSEM.com. So when you go over to totalsem.com, head over to the merchant area, and let's say you're studying for Network Plus. Grab yourself a Network Plus ebook, grab yourself Network Plus practice questions. All you have to do is put them in your cart, and then when you check out, oh, where's the magic code BELL? Okay, so when you check out, put the code BELL, BELL, into the window, whatever it's called, and you will be set. Man, people are chatting on Discord big time. Okay. So, man, take advantage of that. So I'm just talking about Net Plus. We got tons of different types of products out there. You know, tell me what you're looking for. We probably have it for you, especially in the world of CompTIA. And it's 50% off. It's crazy. Do you know that Mike Meyers products are well, there's always some, you know, I love well, Mike, there's an exception. Why do nerds love to pick around the edges of a bell-shaped curve? We do. I do it. I'll admit it myself. It's almost like there's like this nerd competition going on. And it's like, oh, let's get Mike. Ooh, I just can't wait till Dave Rush says something. I'm going to... Of course, nothing actually gets done. Nobody makes money. Nothing is actually gained through learning and knowledge. But somebody gets to put a little dig, you know? I guess it's okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt. There's no evil. Is there evil? Maybe there's just this one. And folks, I'm not picking on you guys. Nerds have been doing this since the 70s or probably before then. But it's always this. I can usually tell when I'm really running into a nerd who's got a real issue because they try to technobabble me, which is always a terrible idea. And yeah, never technobabble anybody. You know, everybody's curious about the haircut. This is how I've traditionally always done it. I've been shaved bald for over 10 years. That's not true, over 15 years. During COVID, I got a little lazy, to say the least. And so I quit shaving my head as much as I used to. It's just so much easier to lay around in your pajamas all day. But also given the fact I'm almost down 30 pounds now, trying to get back to the old styles and stuff like that. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. And we're on good track. It's a lifestyle thing. I'm not even dieting. I'm drinking a lot less alcohol, which definitely seems to help. Go figure. Yeah. Kevin Lopez. So that August this year. But yeah, this year. So you got plenty of time. I'm getting... Okay. So Dave Rush is telling me that here in the U.S., daylight savings time is coming back up. So folks, I don't have any, well, I guess, well, Dave Rush, can you tell me the exact date that daylight savings times kicks in so we can warn people what AMA is going to be at a new time? Daniel Ocampo, they even asked me what time I took. Yeah, see, Daniel, I cannot be everything for all people. You know, this is always a problem. Even like when you're writing training materials of any kind, it always seems to me that there is. I'm the only one who writes like this. All technical training can be broken into two groups. There's the, hi, I'm Timmy the Mouse, click me, left, unless you're left-handed, and then I got, and all this. Or then the other type of training is, when we're talking about, trying to think of something that makes sense, TTL logic, which is actually a fascinating topic, but it won't get computers fixed. But there never seemed to be anything in the middle, which is really the only thing I ever figured out how to do, was to either try to create training materials that doesn't insult the intelligence of normal nerds like me. And in fact, if you read my materials, one of the things I always push about training is what I call the black box. And a black box is, how far down in detail do I go on something before we just go, it's magic. You know, it's magic. And that happens in almost every chapter I write. I can go in much more detail. But the problem is I will bore most people to tears. And remember, there's only 4 reasons to add training material. Number 1, it's going to make them a better tech. Number 2, it's going to get them past a certification. Number 3, because it's cool. Sometimes you just do stuff because it's cool. And number 4, be sure to always teach people the stuff they don't need to know, because they'll get very angry until you tell them they don't need to know it. Boy, has that come up a lot. So the other problem we run into with technical training are these people who want to cover everything that can possibly happen on the bell-shaped curve. Anything that can happen, we're going to put some text on it. And the end result is that I've got a lot of competitors out there who write, oh my God, it's like I want to shove bamboo shoots underneath my fingernails because it's utterly unreadable. But they'll claim, well, Mike Meyers doesn't cover everything. It bores everybody to death. Don't you idiots understand? Give the poor readers, give the poor viewers a chance to be excited about technology, and then the 8 little exceptions to something, you can throw it in later. I have lied to you. I've done that in class, where I'm just trying to explain some concept, and because I didn't cover the little outlier, sometimes on a Tuesday, 2 plus 2 can equal 5 for very large values of 2, and just keep it in the middle. I drive a certain number of techs insane with that attitude. And some of you guys are watching me right now because you feel, and I'm not saying this is unfair, you feel that we need to really cover everything. If you really want to be true to the tech, if you really want to understand how CPUs work, then you've got to start with the silicon, man. Or better yet, different forms of silicon transistors and do TTL logic and all that. And you know what, folks? That stuff is absolutely fascinating, but it doesn't cover the 4. And that's why one of the things you're always going to see in Mike Meyers training is I skip over a lot of junk that I just don't think is important. I mean, if it's on the exam, I'll throw something in. But anybody who's read my books, when you read the exam, when you read my book, I'll literally say, CompTIA Objective 2.3 is full of baloney. And here's what they mean. I have seen so many of my competitors put typos into their training materials because CompTIA had a typo. I have seen trainers write books. This is something you guys need to be aware of. CompTIA does not write their objectives in a learning fashion. They're just trying to cover everything that they want you to cover in terms of knowledge. So a lot of people will look at the CompTIA objectives for A+, Net+, CASP, whatever it is, and they'll look at those objectives and they'll go, well, Mike, why are you starting it in this order? Why do you do cryptography first? That's not the first thing listed on Security Plus. I'm a robot who can only work within outline format. Shut up! God almighty, that one drives me nuts. I put it in an order that makes it the easiest for you to learn. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I put it in an order that puts it in the order that I learn it. And then I gamble that it's a way that you can also learn it. I've been wrong. More than once I've been wrong. But that always gets me too. So the new objectives, I'm assuming they're out. The new objectives for A+, I'm assuming are out now. And anybody who reads those and goes, well, Mike Meyers, his chapters aren't tracking directly to the boys in the back are telling me to cool off. All right, I'll cool off. It wasn't hot. Okay. Let's see what we got going here. All right. Sorry, I went and ranted so hard there. Alice, I got your email. All is good. Kevin Peterson, great job. Yeah, that's a start. I'm actually fitting into some of these shirts again. Feeling kind of good. I think that people should measure obesity not in pounds or kilograms or anything like that, but they should measure it in the amount of money that you're willing to bend over and pick up. And when I was tickling 300 pounds, I was a solid $2 overweight. Now, I'm about $1 overweight. I think that's funny. Is that funny? I think it's funny. Oh. William Jeske, is there a Microsoft Bob for certification training? William, there is. And send me a check for $1,000. Okay. No. Will Shaw, I gave up alcohol for Lent. Well, okay, so Will, I think it's the booze. And the funny part is, booze is caloric, of course. But the problem with booze is that if I'm going to drink a glass of red wine, I'm going to be having me a nice, beautiful steak with that. And a big old potato slathered in cheese and butter and bacon and sour cream and chives. And then next to that, I'm going to have some broccoli. Why do I have broccoli next to my steak and potatoes? Because broccoli looks so pretty next to my food. No, I eat veg. I'm working on it. J.C. Denton, hey Michael, it's good to see you. Good to see you too, man. All right. Tolwood is saying this Sunday is going to be, All right. Mike, your ebook total test bundle comes with 1001. Yes, it does. We don't actually sell a separate 1001 and 1002. I don't like selling them separately. We just treat it as one product. Siegfried is posting. It's all good. Guys, I'm just reading real quick here. 213, Catherine, are the practice questions the same product as the totals tester? Yes, it's the same product. Alan Owens, somebody asked a subnetting VLAN question. Oh, actually, if somebody asked me a subnetting and or VLAN, that would wind me up too, because Will Shaw at 212. Mike, what's your opinion on the International Driver's License 4 Foundation cert? It's all right. I don't have a big excitement for it either way. I really do feel that, look, I'm not CompTIA's fanboy. CompTIA's made a lot of mistakes over the years, over the decades. But they work hard always to improve their product, to improve the testing, to improve their interfacing with their members, and I think CompTIA generally does a good job. So keep that in mind, folks. If CompTIA ever did anything really evil, you'd hear it here first. CompTIA has done some stuff that was dumb. CompTIA has done some stuff that was slow. CompTIA has done some stuff that was clearly in their best interest and not the industry's best interest. But in general, CompTIA has done a pretty good job. I don't know if I could have done a better job. So I can't really complain much about CompTIA other than occasional typos and objectives. All right, let's get to work here. first of all, let's do, it's already almost 2:30, so let's give away something. You guys ready? So we're going to have our first giveaway. Now, folks who are new, here's how this works. Number one, this isn't fair, all right? And if you think I cheated you, I'm sorry. I don't wake up going, I'm going to cheat somebody today, Smithers. I don't, but certain things happen. And no offense, but as nerds, we're super competitive, super self-centered, Asperger-y type people. That's me. And we tend to think the whole world revolves around our little light bulb, and it doesn't. So, like for example, we're about to have a competition, and I say to you, whoever puts the answer first wins. And let's say you put in the answer first, and all of a sudden I don't say you're the winner, and you're like, but, it's because the answer didn't show up on mine first. Don't go thinking that just because your chat looks in the same way that I see the same thing. I don't, okay? I try. The other nice thing to keep in mind here is that we have under 50 people online right now, okay? I tend to let the newbies have a better shot at winning just because I want people, I'm not saying that if you haven't won, you can't win again, but I don't want to Mohan you. Now, to be Mohanned means to be that you have won so many times that I gotta say you can't play anymore. So it's kind of a compliment for some people, but do understand that one limitation. So keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and let's have our first competition. I'm going to start with something easy. You guys ready? This is going to be a quick one. I'm not even going to, normally I put up like a multiple choice question and all that. I'm not even going to do that today. I am just going to shoot out a quick question to you guys. You guys ready? What is the name? I'm sorry, we'll say it better. You guys ready here? Ready? What protocol uses port number 3389? Go! First person to write it in is going to win free practice questions of the CompTIA of your choice. Okay, 213. Oh my goodness. Okay. Man, So what I'm doing now is I'm actually asking Dave Rush to help me judge who is the winner here. So it's going to take a moment. So Andrew Hutz and Dave Rush we try to be somewhat fair, even though we don't see the same things. But give us just a moment here, and the judges are calculating their answers. Okay, so the winner of it says 90-day free access to my practice questions. The winner is Brian Baggs. Brian Baggs, congratulations to you, sir. Brian, in order to claim your prize, you're going to have to send us an email. That email, it needs to be sent to Dave R. That's the same Dave who's on here right now. Dave R at TotalSem.com. In the email, please include your YouTube name, which is Brian Baggs. Please include the email address, but Mike, it's an email. Just use my return address. If you do that, you don't win. And then you have to put the email address in the body of the email. And then number 3, tell us which practice exam you want. You know, we got all kinds of different exams on the www.totalsem.com. You go in there, pick the one you want, and let us know, and we will send it to you. Because basically, it's an online product, and we use your email, and then we send you a password. So. Yeah, don't try to be clever, people. You know, if we get from 3 Brian Baggs, then all of a sudden it's like, it's a different story. All right, and also, Brian, Dave Rush, everything I just said, Dave Rush put that into the chat window. Look around 229, and you will see that. All right, I'm going to zoom back up to 230. That question was way too easy. I'm not doing that again. Kyle Haynes, less alcohol? Are you even a computer tech? Hey man, when I first started being a computer tech, the old joke is how do you find the IT department? Follow the cigarette smoke. I mean, we used to smoke. I mean, it was the 80s. Everybody smoked. Although by the 80s, people were starting to go, smoking's not so good. But yeah, smoking them up. I remember, come on, this is old tech stories are funny. Like when I used to fly in airplanes and I would smoke, and what they did to separate the non-smoking from the smoking section on an airplane is they had this little thing that they would put on a certain seat. So any seats behind that seat were smoking, any seats in front of it were non-smoking. And I'm telling you, back in the old days, a third of the plane was smoking. A third. Easily a third. By the time they finally dumped it, I would say it was less than 20% of the seats were smoking. I've got on a few flights where it was like the last 2 rows. Anyway, so if I was sitting down and that they had the sign right there in front of me, I knew that everybody in front of me was a non-smoker, so I would smoke. Here's me being, here, watch. I'd blow it behind me because I wanted to be courteous to the non-smokers. Roy Keck. Sunday the 13th. Roy Keck says it's Sunday the 13th for switching to daylight savings time. Folks, that means that it's just so funny. I live in such an American-centric world. So daylight savings time in the United States, everything's an hour earlier. So whatever time you're watching me, after the 13th, pick an hour earlier, and then we'll be on daylight savings time. I'm trying to stay more healthy, Kevin. It's just stinky. Thank you, Siegfried. I'm just reading. So guys, anytime you see me turning this way, it's because I'm looking for questions. Dave, have I missed any questions? I see that around 2:21 p.m., Daniel Thibodeau says, can I check for questions? Christina Strickland, think about your blood pressure. I do. So in 2015, I got my weight down pretty good, and I threw away all my blood pressure pills. I didn't need them. I was still way overweight, don't get me wrong, but I was a lot thinner than I am now. And then I ended up, I threw out all my blood pressure pills. I'm back on them, but this time I'm going to stay off of them for good once I get down to skinny. Daniel, I do not see your question. I apologize. This is Daniel Thibodeau. Please post it again. We'll watch for it closely. Travis Sims, you're a myth and a legend. In my own mind, that's for sure. Daniel Ocampo, this is comedy gold. Kevin Peterson, I'm going to re-ask Andrew, what is your thoughts on the value of LinkedIn? It's required. You will be on LinkedIn if you want work. You have to. No question mark whatsoever. Get on there. What do I look for on someone's profile? Passion. Especially if you're a newbie and you don't have a lot of experience, show me the volunteer work you're doing. Show me what classes you're going to. There's lots of stuff out there where people need techs. You don't have to be a good tech, but I want to see passion. I want to see somebody who's out there doing this stuff. You don't get into IT because you don't love it, okay? There's lots of other jobs you can get into in life that you can be fairly successful at but not love. But it's not IT. Guys, the growth curve is too hard for anyone who doesn't feel passionate about IT to get in. Go be a plumber. Plumbers make a lot of money. I'm completely serious, folks. You want to make, at least here in the U.S., go be a plumber. You make a mint. Anthony Trong, it's a long journey. Yes, Anthony, I know it's a long journey, but I'm almost 60. So I've got a question for you guys. How many morbidly obese 70-year-old men do you know? Yeah. So, I've always, how do you measure yourself? As a chubby person, I didn't ever measure myself by a scale or a tape measure. Usually measured myself by how cute the gals were I was dating, and it was always pretty easy for me. So now it's high blood pressure and chest pains and Dave Rush said something very funny on the off channel. I'm not going to respond. But I will say that Dave's response came from a movie called Caddyshack. Daniel, I will not do MTA, man. I don't have any problem with MTA. My problem is I don't see enough demand for it. Like, for example, Daniel, you're probably the only person this year, where are we in March? More than that, who's even asked for something like that. And I would love to write books on everything, but I'm only one man, So I kind of want to go with the stuff that I feel most strongly about, the things I have the most passion about, the things I have the most skill in, and the things where I think I can actually make good products at a reasonable price to help people get to where they want to go. Broccoli adds color to the plate. I actually like broccoli a lot, especially, all right, so instead of, here's what I would normally eat. I'd eat a 16-ounce steak, a huge baked potato slathered in butter and cheese and bacon and all that stuff, and broccoli with a little thing of butter on it, okay? Now what do I eat? I'm gonna take that same 16-ounce steak, I'm gonna cut it in half, 8-ounce steak, about the size of my fist. I'm still laughing about Dave Rush's response. I'm gonna cook that steak, just 8 ounces of steak. I'm not eating hardly any carbs at all. Certainly not eating a baked potato. And I make like a triple order of broccoli. Oh, you know what else I do with that steak? I do not order a Chateau Cheval Blanc 97 to go with it. Oh, that's good wine. All right. Alan Owens, the problem with booze is that your body stops processing everything else. It's absolutely true, Alan. Very true. Storyteller Mace. Hey, man. Mike, are there any vendor languages you're good at or any programming language that you excel in? No. I can do hello world in about 13, 14, 15 different languages, but I do not excel at anything. I'm a level 1, level 2 tech. I recognize the importance of scripting languages on any operating system. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. But you know what I am really, really good at? I'm really, really good at stealing other people's good code in order to do the stuff that I need to do. And thankfully for us, there are massive repositories of scripting language. PowerShell, for example, because I'm a Windows guy. Microsoft has a massive library. I don't have the URL in front of me, but they have a massive library of PowerShell scripts to do all kinds of stuff. You need to add users to a domain, add new domain users. Or you want to reset all the printers within a certain IP. I mean, there's probably 100,000 or more languages. So I don't need to be that good at scripting. What I do need to be good at is knowing what scripting does, understand the basic concepts of it. So if I need to go into some code and make a little change here and there, I'm okay. I need to be able to know how to run a piece of code, which can be surprisingly challenging sometimes. And I would need to know what platforms use what type of languages in order to support whatever I happen to be doing. But I'm not a good coder, not at all. That's why I have guys like Michael Smyer and Travis around, because they're good coders. Ronan reads, you passed Core 1 and 2. Hey, congratulations, Ronan. Here's a big round of applause to you. Well done, Ronan. Travis Sims. If you were just starting, what programming language would you learn? That's not even hard. JavaScript. It's just, you're just going to be really hard pressed to find a website that isn't running that. You know. I'm still laughing at Dave Rush. How do you measure? By height. Catherine, as an inexperienced tech person, I get confused with the terms client and host. Can we chat about this? Sure. All right. So, as human beings, you and I, Catherine, could just walk up to each other and start talking to each other, right? Somebody's going to have to initiate a conversation, but as human beings, we can talk about almost anything. And a lot of times when we talk about communications and IT, we try to use human beings as an example or at least a starting place, and that's inaccurate. Computers are very, very stupid. They are very fast, which can make them look kind of smart sometimes, but they're stupid. So everything that is the internet, everything that is networking, you know, forget the internet. Catherine, maybe just there's 6 computers in a room with one shared printer. The bottom line is that there has to be one device, or it could be more, but there has to be a device which is offering a resource. It could be offering a printer. It could be offering a folder full of files. It could be offering a printer. It could be offering a web page. It could be offering an FTP site. It could be offering a game. And then you have other computers which access that shared resource. Those systems that share resources are called servers. Those devices which access those shared resources are called clients. And that doesn't mean a computer, okay? I can have a big file server running Windows Server, whatever, 2016 or whatever it's up to these days, and that is a file server. It serves files. It does a good job of it too. But on that same computer, Catherine, on that same computer, I can open up a web browser, which is a client. A web browser is client software that's designed to query web servers. Web servers don't have a Firefox browser. Well, they might, but that would be weird. Web servers run things like IIS, Internet Information Server for Windows, or, oh good Lord, I have gone blank, on Apache on Linux boxes. You get the idea? So a client and a server are going to be, a client accesses a server to get resources, and then the server shares those resources with the proper kind of clients. You can't open up a World of Warcraft client and then get to a web page, right? I mean, you got a World of Warcraft client. If you want to play the game, you're going to connect you log in and it will connect you to a World of Warcraft server, and then you can go march around and do whatever you want to do. So you have to have the right kind of client for the right kind of server. Well, Mike, how do I know? Well, because there's some motivation for you to want to get to it. How do I know I need a WoW client? Because you want to play WoW. That's how. All right. So that's client and server. A host, generally a host is any device which is on and running on a network, okay? Individual computers that are not networked are rarely considered hosts. A host is a device, usually the big clue, Catherine, is that a host will have an IP address. Now, there could be subtleties in definition, Catherine, that could change that a little bit, but I can tell you one thing, my definition will get you through all the CompTIA certs. So, Catherine, I got a question for you. Is a machine running a web server a host? It is. Is my machine sitting here in front of me with these 2 big monitors a host? Yeah, I'm on the internet. It's got an IP address. I'm a host. Is that Nest thermostat in your house? Is that a host? Does it have an IP address? Then it's a host. I know a lot of people use Nest thermostats and don't have the network part connected. They just use it as a classic thermostat. It actually works pretty good that way. In that case, because it's not accessible to the network, it would not be a host. All servers are hosts. All clients are hosts. Does that help? Okay, moving on. We've got another, I still got to give away some more stuff. Alan Owens, I'd love to be Mohand one day at 227. Keep competing, man. You're getting close, as I recall, Alan. Alan Owens, Python is also a good way to go. Python is probably the most powerful general purpose language I think you can, general purpose scripting language you can use. Certainly very popular. Travis Sims, Mike, after getting the CompTIA trifecta, what certs would you get to make a dent in the IT universe? Well, I would hope that by the time you do Security Plus, you're starting to get some sense of idea of what you want to be when you grow up, or at least you want to jump into with. And so the answer is nothing. Once you do Security Plus, and for the record, for a lot of people, it's not even Security Plus, what do you want to do? At this point, are Cisco routers interesting to you? Start going up the Cisco track. You want to start being an administrator for Windows networks? Start heading up the Microsoft track. You want to start getting into wireless networking? Then go on the Certified Wireless Network Professional, CWNP track. It's up to you. To me, the only thing A+, Net+, and Security Plus really does, well, there's two things it does. Number one, it puts a badge on your chest, lets everybody know that you're competent. That's number one. But then number two, it should hopefully begin to introduce you to what's out there and what's happening job-wise. So I'm not going to tell you what to do next. There's a certain point where your passion is going to lead you in that direction. Choose what you want. And the nice part is if you're completely wrong, you can always backpedal later and try something else. Rainbow Jesse, staying away from starches and sugars. I think it helps, man. Samuel G, any tips for the Security Plus exam? Yeah, the one thing I will say about Security Plus is that the Security Plus I think they should change the name. I think it should be called Survey of IT Security. And it covers a lot of different aspects of IT security, because IT security is a very broad topic. So many people think IT security just means, pen testing. And I got to be honest with you guys, pen testing is a very small part of the world of IT security. Governance, where you're acting in a management position, how do you deal with, are there changes, change management, all that, that's governance. Audit's a really cool area. And with audit, you're auditing, you're looking at your security attack surface, your infrastructure, your architecture, and judging how well things are doing. So there's a zillion different aspects to IT security, and I think the CompTIA Security Plus does a pretty good job of at least wetting your beak a little bit on what that really means. But yeah, that's what it does. Whew. Ronan, my class is making me take SQL. What do I think of SQL? I think if you have a database, you better start learning SQL. I mean, SQL, Structured Query Language, has been around for a long time. I have a very dear friend. This gal is, the only thing she can do, is that she's really, really good at creating SQL queries. That's all she does, all day long. And she makes about 125 grand a year. She's also particularly good at looking at databases that come out of the oil patch, logging files, stuff like that. Panos, M. Potsnigo, L1 and L2, IT, explain? Sure. How are we doing on time? All right, I'm going to try. Okay? I am doing this just for you, Panos. Inside your computer, if your computer is a desktop or a laptop or a phone, I don't care. Inside is a CPU, the brain of the computer. And the thing is inside the CPU are these pipelines that do steps. Think of pipelines like doing your laundry. Wash, dry, or here's sort, wash, dry, fold, put away, right? Does that mean everybody has to go through that? You know, maybe you have things you don't want dried, or maybe things you don't fold, you put them on a hanger, or whatever it might be. IT programs that go through your CPU are very similar to that. And they only need specific steps. And other steps are a waste of time. So that's part of the reason that all CPUs today have multiple pipelines, is to try to, the worst thing you can do to a CPU, is make it stop and wait for something. Let me give you an example. 30 years ago, if you wrote a piece of code, and if you wrote the code and all of a sudden it was querying a value that was already in RAM, you know, if memory address equals 3, then go over to Fort Worth or something like that. And that's called a pipeline stall, and it's the worst thing you can do to a CPU. And now here's an interesting thing, you ready? The vast majority of code that you run on a CPU is run over and over and over again. All of the other code usually sits on a hard drive or it sits in RAM and is rarely accessed. That's the truth. So if we could come up with a way that instead of putting code just in RAM, if we could put it in like super fast RAM that can run with the CPU, that will speed things up dramatically. And that's where an L1 cache comes from. L1 cache is RAM, but it's RAM inside your CPU. It's not RAM that you can or Windows can address and talk to. It is only there for the use of your CPU. Level 1 cache is loaded based on guessing. And it guesses pretty well. Both Intel, AMD, and everybody else, CPU-wise, are good at this. If you have an L1 cache on a CPU, you'll find yourself going to RAM maybe only 10% of the time. A level 2 cache used to be outside the CPU. Now it's also built into the CPU. Level 2 cache is usually about half the speed of level 1, and it tends to be a lot more cache. But with a level 2 cache, working with a level 1 cache, the CPU will go into a pipeline stall less than 1% of the time. That's because you keep asking, you're not doing it, you're running Microsoft Word or whatever it is, but the operating system, the CPU, has to keep calling to the same bits of code over and over again. That's what L1 and L2 are. Why not have an L3? Well, we do have an L3. A lot of CPUs come with an L3 cache. I'm not aware of any that come with an L4, which by saying that I almost guarantee it does. And one of the big differences between Intel CPUs and AMD CPUs is how they deal with their caches. And this becomes a very interesting science, you know. If the cache gets bigger, then it takes longer for the CPU to go through it to verify the data that it's looking for is either there or not there, right? So are small, very fast caches better than large caches? And even to this day, in 2022, these are still arguments that come up between engineers, CPU engineers, is what's the best design for caching? The nice part is, in today's society, you don't do anything. You just buy a CPU that's got X amount of L1 and X amount of L2 and maybe even L3 cache. You just plug that in and go, baby. There's nothing to adjust. There's nothing to tweak. There's no button to press. Drop the CPU into the socket, put a fan on it. That's the last time you're going to worry about the L1 and L2 cache. I guess the one time I would worry about L1 and L2 cache is when I'm choosing a new CPU. And there have been times, both on the Intel and AMD worlds, where they had breakthroughs in caching that made for much better processors. I will argue, and there will people who disagree with me, that a big part of the reason that Ryzen processors are as popular as they are and hit such a wonderful price performance is because of the caching. There's a lot of other stuff too, but that's a big one. So there you go. So Panos, for the exams, just remember that L1 is the smallest and the fastest, L2 is larger and slower, and L3 is even larger and even slower. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else for the exams. I definitely have a... We're about to give away a voucher here, folks. It's $255, goodness sakes. Someone asked earlier about the difference between ISO, IMG, and a backup. An ISO is a perfect image of bootable media. I will repeat. ISO is a perfect image of bootable media. ISO was originally based on the ISO 9660 standard for CD-ROMs, which then went to DVD, which then went to Blu-ray. When CD-ROMs came out, folks, they were for playing music, all right? Nobody was even thinking about storing programs on it to, install Windows or whatever it might be. So the European ISO folks came up with a standard that said, this optical disc, we need to come up with a way for it to store data. So they basically came up with a file system, which is the nicest way to call it, called ISO 9660, or some people call it CDFS. And anybody who uses optical media to this day is still using those standards. But the thing is that for so many people, let's say I'm Ubuntu, and I want you to install Ubuntu onto your computer. So one of the ways we go about doing that is that you put it on bootable media. Now, ISO standards work perfectly also on thumb drives. So if you take a standard and you copy the entire thing using tools like Rufus, for example. In fact, I think you can do it all in Windows completely now too, which means you can probably do it in Mac. The bottom line is that you are making a bit-for-bit copy of that optical media. So even with optical media fading away, it's still a great format to download a disk and, like, for example, open up a virtual machine and install Ubuntu. Just download the ISO, tell Ubuntu where the ISO is, and boot off of that ISO file. Images are, IMG files are basically, I am making a copy of, a bit-for-bit copy of anything. I can make a bit-for-bit copy of my D drive on my Windows system, and that would typically, you could do it. Does IMG support boot? I'm gonna have to think about that for a minute. But so ISO and IMG are both perfect copies, bit-for-bit copies. There's just different ways to go about it. What was the last one? Backup. Backup just means backing stuff up. I can throw a thumb drive in my computer and type copy da-da-da-da-da over to my F, whatever my thumb drive is, and that's a backup. So you don't try to make a lot of mystery here. Now, there are special backup softwares out there. These backup softwares will make copies. They don't even have to be images. They're not ISOs. You can set them up, and this is what we normally do, is you set it up to go, look, copy my entire C drive, okay? But what it's copying there isn't necessarily bit level because it's remembering file structures and all this other stuff and copies all that in such a way so that that can be restored with a special restoration software. So backup means to make a copy of something and put it somewhere. If you just use a copy command, you're making a backup. Most of the time when we talk about backup, we're talking about using specialized backup software. And back in the old days, we used to have old tape machines and all that stuff. Today, most of these backups go up to the cloud, assuming you have a nice internet connection, and that tends to work out pretty good. Oof. Man, we are running out of time today, guys. It is almost 3 o'clock, but we still have stuff to give away. So I am going to give away a CompTIA voucher right now. Hang on a minute. What I got to do first is find some questions. Should we just stick with A+? Hello. There we go. Make sure I didn't miss anything critical here. All right, so guys, I am going to pull up. We're going to use A+. We are now about to compete for a free CompTIA voucher. Now, folks, this CompTIA voucher works. If you live in a country where you can take a CompTIA exam, it's okay. It works for any CompTIA exam. Theoretically, there was a problem with CYSA+. You might want to look into that, but I think that's been dealt with as well. So anybody is welcome to go with this and compete and have fun. And there's only 53 of us in here right now. Oh, I did that to him last time. All right. So we are going to do an A+ question here, folks. And on this A+ question, it's going to be a multiple choice question. Do not type A, B, C, or D. Write out enough so I know what you're talking about. I'm picking a more esoteric question that has to do with projectors. So let's go ahead and give this one a try. You guys ready? We're now competing for a free CompTIA voucher. Depending on what CompTIA exam you're doing, this could be worth up to $400. So first person to get it wins. Keep in mind, you folks who have won before, I'm always going to let the newbies have a little shot at it. That doesn't mean you can't win if you've won before. It just means that if you're first and there's a newbie on number 2, I'm probably going to give it to him. But let's go ahead and go for it. And here we go, folks. Here's the question. What is the most important measurement of a projector's performance if it's primarily, is that spelled right? Primarily going to be used in a conference room with a lot of natural light. So the room's going to be kind of bright. Are we worried about resolution, HDMI compatibility, contrast ratio, or lumens? I'll let you guys stare at that for a minute. Let's see if we can get some answers. Zam, long time no see, Mike. What's a good cert or general direction to becoming a Windows sysadmin? Is the role Active Directory heavy? Yeah, I would go right for MCSE or I've forgotten the name of the entry level. I would go the Microsoft route. Is the role Active Directory heavy? Yes, everything in Microsoft is Active Directory heavy. Kathleen Stevens is back. I'm glad to see that. All right, let me scroll down and see if we got some, ooh, got lots of answers. Oh goodness. I am just making my questions too easy. All right, I guess we should get the answer, hold on. All right, so I'm looking at this, I'm pretty sure it's lumens. So folks, by the way, this is the total tester tool. Yeah, lumens is correct. Answer explanation, projector is very bright, Okay, sounds good. It's lumens. Lumens define the brightness of all projectors, and the more lumens, the brighter the projector, which can definitely be an issue in a room that has a lot of natural light. Some people might argue and they go, well, Mike, answer B, contrast ratio is there too. And in mixed light areas, contrast ratio, and then you know what, when I meet people like that, I just want to beat them up. The right answer is lumens. Will Shaw, throw projector in there. Here comes Will with this little humor. All right. Okay. Okay, all right. So the winner this time is, you guys ready? Drum roll. The winner is Kyle Haynes. Kyle Haynes, congratulations. You have won a CompTIA voucher. Now, Kyle, in order to get that voucher, you're going to have to jump through a couple of small hoops. Kyle, let's try that again. Let's try it again a little better. There we go. All right, Kyle, in order to claim your prize, Kyle, you have to send an email to davr@totalsem.com. In that email, include your name, just like it shows in the chat window. Number 2, put your email address in the body of the email. Number 3, your name used on previous CompTIA certifications, however you signed it before. And if you've never had a CompTIA certification before, then just put your legal name. Next, put your country of residence. If you live in the USA, add your state. Second to last, add the country where you will take the exam. For some people, they can live in one country, take the exam in another, so you got to let us know. And then last, give us the exact exam number. So if you want to take an A+, say A+ 220-1002, not just A+. And again, congratulations to you. Well done, sir. All right, so we're kind of, I apologize. I'm going to have to go ahead and boogie now. Folks, I will be on the Discord channel. It's probably going to be about 10 or 15 minutes before I can get on, so go get yourself a cup of tea and we can jump on there. Also, folks, if you didn't win a voucher, don't get mad. Just come back. We do this 3 times a week. I'm on Mondays, Wednesdays, and my buddy Dave Rush is on Fridays with the Dave Rush AMA. And we usually get less than 60, certainly less than 100 people. And about half of these people have already won stuff. So you, especially if you're a noob, may the odds always be in your favor. So it's not that hard to win. In fact, I think this is part of the problem because I'm not growing that much because everybody's like, no, I don't want to tell anybody. It'll kill my odds to get a Net Plus voucher, which I'm perfectly happy doing. All right, guys, but I am out of here. I will see you on the Discord channel. Until then, this is your Uncle Mikey saying good night. Good night. See you guys on Wednesday. Bye-bye.